Chapter 22, The Path. Thou wilt show me the path of life. Psalms 16:11. Now for the fourth prepare, the portal of temptations which do ensnare the inner man. Man is a crystal ray, a beam of light immaculate within, a form of clay material upon the lower surface. That beam is thy life guide and thy true self, the watcher and the silent thinker, the victim of thy lower self. The voice of the silence, Blavatsky. Every student who has earnestly sought association with this order has done so because of an inner urge which, whether verbally expressed or not, manifests as a determination to set out in earnest upon the path of discipleship which leads to the goal of final liberation. Yet few there be who are aware of the many snares and delusions and the many requirements necessary to attain that great end. Many think this path but a figure of speech, and that all that is necessary is to live an average life, to have good intentions, to be honest whenever circumstance permit, to be true whenever it seems to pay, saying with a shrug of the shoulder, "No one is perfect, and I am doing the best I can under the circumstance." Such persons have not only not entered the path, but have no conception of what the path is. How many there are who earnestly and yet sincerely believe they have entered the path, yet who after years of earth life, years of striving and study and meditation, find themselves apparently no further advanced than when they set out. Hence many become discouraged and turn back, saying it is a hopeless task, or that only after many lives, some say at least 7 more, they may begin to attain. But the truth is that unless you begin to attain today, this present moment, you have not entered the path, for this path is made up of regular steps, each one a definite attainment. These attainments are not mystical dreams of a faraway perfection to be attained in the dim future, but something that belongs to your everyday life. The first step in mastery must be taken now in a definite practical way, for until this is done, the greater steps will be forever remain untaken. The path is the path of renunciation, yet it is also a path of glorious achievement. Upon it you will find many things to comfort you during the long nights of darkness and the days of combat, many resting places, many joys. The renunciation does not mean the renunciation of all human sympathy, all natural human traits, for you must be all things unto all men, and this you cannot be if you become what the world calls a crank. The renunciation must be the renunciation of the domination of the lower self and the disciplining and training of its desire and appetites, the self you have built up out of false conception of the events through which you have gained the experience which entitles you to enter upon this definite step. Those who have chosen this step are like soldiers who have donned their armor and are waiting to go forth to victory. The goal is reached through definite attainments, spoken of as gates opening into new stages of the journey. These gates are definite attainments here and now in this present life. Each step means a struggle, a literal shaping of every act and thought toward a definite end, which is fully outlined in the mind and made the objective point of the life. The first gate to be passed is the attainment of charity and tolerance for all, a realization of divine love, and an earnest desire to become one with the Christ force, which is manifesting in your fellow man. This is the first gate to be entered because intolerance is a bar to further progress. Hence, while there is the least intolerance in your heart, this barred gate will shut off even a vista to the path. To conquer intolerance, realize divine love as a white light which can only manifest on earth through its many prismatic colors, and that each color, if true and undefiled, has its place in the heart of the pure white light. For the white light could not be complete if one color ray was missing. The color rays symbolize the 7 great types or classes of humanity with their various idiosyncrasies. To attain true tolerance, realize that your brothers and sisters, with all their differences of opinion and various ways of looking at divine truth, are nevertheless necessary parts of the grand plan, and that without them you would lack. Only a realization of the oneness of all and their necessity for the completion of the whole can bring true tolerance. You may talk of loving your brothers yourself, but not until you have at least a mental grasp of the truth that your brother is necessary to your own growth can you really manifest it. As long as you look upon yourself as a separate and aloof from your brother, this great bar of intolerance will remain across the entrance to the path. In the above, we have emphasized the constructive idea of tolerance, for many think tolerance means so vague and indefinite idea of what you self-believe that you are willing to follow the teaching of every phase of truth anyone may expound to you. But such, of course, is merely confusing, for you cannot be truly tolerant until you are quite sure which avenue of teaching best suits your soul needs. Seek earnestly for the particular line of teaching which most appeals to you and which proves most helpful to your spiritual growth. Then, while recognizing the good in all others and being tolerant of all divergent ways, be well grounded in your chosen teaching, so that you cannot be misled or carried away by sophistry, but will remain unmoved as long as the teaching feeds your spiritual hunger. Only thus can you take your place as a shining beam in your own color ray or avenue of teaching. It is like a military evolution. The figure is perfect only when each individual is in his own place, in his own company, and is paying no attention to the others except to recognize their part in the evolution and work harmoniously with them. Charity is that all-embracing love which seeks for the good in all. It does not mean that you are to condone evil, for to do so is to spread it. It means that while you are never to condone a personality for his or her failings, you are to stand firm for the principles of right, truth, justice, and purity whenever you are tempted or see them violated, so that there can be no misunderstanding as to the principles you uphold. The second gate consists of the attainment of harmony, both within yourself and also with your surrounding, or the power to be so harmonized to divinity that you pass through the turmoil and inharmony of life without permitting them to upset you. At this gate you must conquer fear, for this is a necessary part of the attainment of harmony, for only perfect love casts out fear. Many pupils knock a long time at this gate and wonder why it does not open to them. They desire harmony above all else and cry out continually that they are sending out nothing but love to their fellow men, yet receive in return inharmony, unkindness, and cruelty. If such candidates would look within themselves instead of around them for the harmony they seek, they would find that the great specter fear held them enthralled. They fear 1,000 things, chiefly that the world does not understand what they are striving to manifest, for if it did, it could not send back so much inharmony. They fear the opinion of friends, poverty, sickness, death. In fact, their fears are too numerous to mention, and in their hearts, although the beautiful flower of love has been planted, yet the many noxious weeds of fear have sprung up so thickly that the plant is unable to bloom and send out its perfume to harmonize the condition in which it grows. Therefore, they will knock at this gate in vain until they have vanquished fear, or until they have learned to trust and believe in the divine overshadowing love which casteth out fear. When this is attained, they will awaken to find the gate of harmony already ajar. This specter, fear, while it seems a giant, is in reality but a shadow of the night. Let the candidate realize the divinity of his real self, that it is deathless, immortal, and cannot be harmed. Let him repeat constantly, I am fearless because my real self is divine, and there is nothing to fear. Divine love is the law of my being, and I can trust in this great law to conquer all conditions. With it I am strong, powerful, forceful. Manifesting this love, I cannot be discouraged, frightened, or turned aside from the path of spiritual attainment. As he permits his consciousness to dwell in this thought, there will grow up in him the strength and power to conquer. Then, ere he knows it, he will find his gate standing wide open, and the light of its portal flooding his whole life with the glory of its love and harmony. The third gate is that of patience, that is, having earnestly cultivated divine love in your heart and tolerance and charity for all, having harmonized yourself to the Christ and to your surrounding, and having conquered fear, there must ensue a longer or shorter period in which you wait for your scarce know-what. This is beautifully expressed by the psalmist. My soul waiteth for the Lord more than they that watch for the morning. And again the heart cries out, And now, Lord, what wait I for? My hope is in thee. Deliver me from all my transgressions. You are waiting for the divine law to bring to you the result of your attainments. This is a very trying period in your life because feelings that you have attained to love, harmony, charity, tolerance, etc., you cannot understand why you must tarry so long at this third gate. Yet there is a great necessity that it should be so, for without the virtues of patience and trust and confidence that whatever comes is best, you would be utterly unable to cope with the more active trials and temptations that will assail you when you reach the fourth gate. This waiting develops the patience which affords the soul a chance to learn the great lessons. Keep silent, also how to enter into the silence and become one with it. For you have not mastered patience until you have learned to quiet the mentality, enter the silence, and realize the meaning of the text. Be still and know that I, the great law of love, am God. When you have consciously sought membership in the Order of the 15, you are supposed to have passed, in a measure at least, the first three of these gates, and are now knocking at the fourth, the gate which opens to your consciousness the path itself. You are now ready to obey the voice of your higher self, which is urging upon you a conscious and persistent effort toward mastery, instead of drifting aimlessly as heretofore on the sea of life. The entrance of this fourth gate is a most momentous event, for it marks the end of the first great cycle of your spiritual growth. Since from an occult standpoint the 4 contains the potency of the 10, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10, and since 4, or the square, is the most perfect earthly figure, at this point you must square yourself, as it were, with earthly conditions as you find them, for at this step you face the fourth dimension in which all things interpenetrate. At this point you must face yourself, for over this gate is written the Pythagorean precept, "Man, know thyself." When you strive to obey this precept, you will become aware that there is at least one great iron bar which closes this gate to you, but within yourself you can find the power to lift this bar and permit the gate to swing open. No one can recognize and lift this bar but yourself. Until this fourth gate is reached, your life has been a more or less unconscious growth in love, charity, tolerance, harmony, fearlessness, and patience. But now you face a serious conscious struggle. You must now begin to take account of yourself within as well as without. You have been able largely to control your actions and your words. You now become responsible for your own creations, the children of your thoughts, and must, to the silent thinker, be united. This silent thinker is not that which is known as the voice of silence, but the silent undercurrent of thought which is continually penetrating your brain, although what might be called the active thoughts may, like ripples on the surface, make you unaware of what is transpiring in the depths. The instant you begin self-analysis, you will find there are many deep thoughts which come into your mind without your volition and seem to think themselves. These are of 2 kinds. If they are uplifting, grand, or beyond the power of the physical brain to express, they come from the silent thinker. If they are frivolous, contemptible, or vile, they are but the reflection of the world's current of thought to which you have united yourself and permitted to flow through you. The children of your thoughts, unseen, impalpable, that swarm around humankind. But of whatever character they may be, they are the index of the self you are to study and to conquer. For to know thyself means to go down deep into the source of selfhood and decide just what the great motives are, with all determining your character and prompting your action. These motives can be determined by careful study of the impalpable thoughts which intrude themselves upon you against your volition. Thoughts are things, and man in the aggregate during his evolution has thrown off thoughts of all kinds, and these accumulated thought forms have become great vortices of force into which each soul is naturally drawn, according to its affinity with the one or the other type. In other words, you permit your mind to be so filled with the currents of the world thought surrounding you that your brain becomes a fit vehicle for, and develops within it definite channels through which certain classes of thought currents naturally flow, just as a stream automatically follows a channel dug for it, and the longer it flows in one channel, the broader and deeper the channel becomes, and the more difficult it is to change the stream. It is well known that the brain of a thinker differs from that of a savage, not so much in size and weight, as in the number and depth of its convolutions, which convolutions are developed by the functioning of the centers they contain. Another means of self-analysis is carefully and fearlessly to interpret your dreams and visions, for the silent thinker is continually guiding and warning you by means of such experiences. Dreams are of 3 general classes. First, confused, incoherent ideas, more or less imperfectly remembered, the result of inharmoniously physical or mental conditions which keep the lower mind more or less active yet uncontrolled by the presence of the ego. Second, the experiences of the human mind wandering uncontrolled in the lower astral world. Third, the symbolic dreams and visions, coherent and usually clearly remembered, the result of the personality doing the best it can by using the thought materials of the waking consciousness to illustrate the spiritual truth or lessons given by its higher self during the sleep of the body. Hence, a careful analysis of dreams will show what general stage of development the candidate has reached and what general problems he must face and conquer. You do not have to experience the 2 lower classes of dreams if you train your brain mind to refuse to accept such experience. When this training is accomplished, you will dream only when your higher self desires to give you a lesson or a warning. It is with these inner thought currents that the candidate who knocks at the 4th gate must determinedly grapple, first recognize and then control. No thought currents coming from your higher self or from the masters of wisdom can flow into your conscious until, by determined conscious effort, You have swept away all trifling thoughts, and you have prepared channels for higher thoughts. At this step, you become responsible for the effect of every outside influence that impinges upon your consciousness. You become responsible not only for all the emanations which you send out to interpenetrate all space and impinge upon every other human being, but also responsible for every thought you permit to enter your consciousness from any source. While you cannot expect to conquer all at once and absolutely shut out every undesirable thought, still you can refuse to dwell upon a thought and can determinately think some constructive thought which will ultimately create a channel through which like thoughts will naturally flow. In other words, you must be the chooser, the willer, the master of your thoughts, and you will remain before this gate until you carve out new channels through which the currents of thought from the silent thinker can flow into your consciousness. Hence, patience is the supreme quality to be cultivated at this gate. There are many barriers which hold you back at this point, until you can recognize that there is nothing in all the universe that is important enough to stop your onward march, that the silent thinker is your true self, one with divinity. When these barriers are reached, so many cry out, "What shall I do? How shall I conquer? Give me some definite step to take that I may know I have really entered the path." Why this questioning? When through all the ages wisdom crieth out, she uttereth her voice in the streets, she crieth in the chief place of the concourse, in the opening of the gates. The first step is plainly set forth in the voice of true silence. Before the soul can comprehend and may remember, she must into the silent speaker be united, just as the form to which the clay is molded is first united with the potter's mind. Here you find the first step, the great step pointed out. Indeed, this step is the beginning and the end, for only as you strive for and accomplish this feat can you truly enter the fourth gate and win final victory. How can you get from this injunction the help your heart longs for? The definite step that shall make you something different, something greater, better, higher, that shall give you power. While we do not countenance attempts to cultivate abnormal powers, we are told again and again that if you are a child of the Father and are doing the works of the Father, then you will have the powers of the Father abiding in you. How is this to be accomplished? Just as clay is united to the potter's mind, when a potter starts to make a wonderful vase, a marvel of beauty, a poem of symbology, a lesson for all who look, he does not copy something another mind has brought forth. Such a production would be spurious. The true potter, the artist, is original. Long before one stroke is made, even before the clay is moistened, his mind has created every detail of the vase. This is an illustration of how you must go to work. Unite yourself with the mind of the great potter, the great oversoul, the thinker, him of whom you desire to become an expression. For to you he must first become the silent thinker, ere he becomes a speaker. Before you can remodel your life, you must catch a glimpse of the divine plan in the mind of the silent thinker. Tolerate no defect. See a vision of the perfection you desire to reach, and work consciously in harmony with it. This cannot be accomplished until you have realized the possibility of closing the door of your mind to all undesirable thoughts. To do this, practice making your mind a blank and shutting out all thoughts, and when this has been accomplished in a measure, you will be ready to open the door to such thoughts as you desire. As long as thoughts of discouragement, impatience, self-deprecation, or other similar thoughts can fill your mind against your will to the exclusion of the thoughts you have chosen, you have not united yourself to the silent thinker and cannot hear the voice of the silent speaker. Therefore, while the task is arduous, it is not hopeless. As we said in the beginning, there are many joys along the path, chief of which is the consciousness of your divine guidance, and the realization that you are but following in the steps of every great soul who has attained mastery. And the very fact of determinate facing this fourth gate brings you into a thought current, which has been both created and strengthened by the many pilgrims who have passed this way, so that it may be said that you have left behind landmarks and guideposts for your direction. There is scarcely a temptation that can assail you that many of the loving elder brothers have not passed through and conquered, hence they are stretching out guiding hands to help you. The very force with which they conquered remains as a sacred aura around this gate. In fact, the thoughts they have left behind might be compared to a golden thread reaching all the way. And as long as you hold to this thread, you cannot lose your way. Ere thou canst near the goal, be thine hand is lifted to upraise the fourth gate's latch. Thou must have mastered all the mental changes in thyself, and slain the army of thought sensations that, subtle and insidious, creep unasked within the soul's bright shrine. Strive with thy thoughts unclean before they overpower thee. Use them as they will use thee. For if thou sparest them, and they take root and grow, know well these thoughts will overpower and kill thee. O fearless aspirant, look deep within the well of thine own heart, and answer. Knowest thou of self the powers, O thou perceiver of eternal shadows? For on the path forth, the lightest breeze of passion or desire will stir the steady light upon the pure white walls of soul.